Thanks all for joining us for this webcast today. As you surely know, we shipped the third major for the year Telerik Test Studio release end of last month. So the goal of this webcast today would be to review the new bits and demonstrate how to make the best out of them. So I have here with me Ilyan Panchev, who's the product manager for Test Studio at Progress. He'll be demoing the new Test Studio features for you today. And myself, I'm Antonia Boshkova. I'm the product marketing manager for Telerik Test Studio, and I'll be co-hosting the webinar today together with Ilyan. Today's session will be recorded and made available to watch on demand, so if you for some reason need to jump off the call earlier or you'd like to share the recording with your colleagues, rest assured we'll be distributing the video early next week. As usual, if you have any questions while the webinar is running, feel free to ask these by using the chat window. We'll open up for a quick Q&A session at the end of the webcast in about 40 minutes. And also we are planning to follow up with a blog post on the Telerik blogs in case we didn't manage or we didn't have time or we couldn't answer any of your questions today. So let me walk you through the agenda for today real quick. We'll start with the new features the R3 release brought into the core Test Studio product, and then Ilyan will demo the new bits and show you how to make the best out of them. Also, Test Studio Mobile is getting quite a few important updates with this release, which we'll share later on. Next, we'll give you an update on what Beta 2 of Test Studio for APIs has to offer with this new release. And then Ilyan will show you a quick demo of API testing. And finally, just before we open up for questions, I'll quickly go through what's coming up next in terms of planned webinars, resources, conferences, in essence, collateral that you can use to get the most out of Test Studio. Moving on to what's new in Test Studio Core this quarter. As you surely remember, R2 release of Test Studio back in that way we help to even better facilitate tester-developer collaboration by allowing you to check in tests next to the production code. Also back in June we added the ability to execute tests against Microsoft Edge, which allowed you to ensure your applications work as expected on the latest browser configurations. Following in the steps of the Telerik developer UI suites, the latest release of Test Studio adds support for Angular.js and Angular 2. So now customers who are using the Angular framework to build web applications can easily use Test Studio to test their applications. In this update, we are also replacing the Recorder startup page with a launch and navigation dialog inside Test Studio. This will enable users to take advantage of two new features. One is autocomplete when you start typing web addresses, as well as history of previously recorded sessions. Time to see the new bits in Test Studio Core in action. Ilyan, would you like to get control over presenting, please?
Okay, thank you, Tony. You should be seeing my screen now with Test Studio App and Desktop open. I will quickly show you how you can use Test Studio for recording your tests and executing your tests against your Angular applications. And actually this this behavior will be of Test Studio will be the same as if you record tests against regular HTML and web applications. So you as a user should not see any difference when you use Test Studio with your Angular applications, and you should be able to record and execute all the actions and verifications that can be done with Test Studio. And of course you can add as well coded steps as usual. So I have a web test here open, and before I go into recording against my Angular 2 application, I will quickly show you the new dialog for the recorder. Instead of that landing page that we had, we now have this dialog, and the landing page is removed. The new dialog has a few advantages. First of all, you have a history of all your pages and addresses that you used. Of course, if you use something that you don't want anyone else to see, you can remove it after that. And you have autocomplete. So basically, this new dialog is all inside Test Studio, and you have control over the history and of your pages, and you don't have to type everything each time again. So the other options are pretty much the same as before. You can select the browser, or you can calibrate it if it's not, and save it for future so that we don't ask you for browser choice. I will use Internet Explorer, and we'll record few steps against my Angular 2 application that I have here. So basically, all the highlighting of the elements, the DOM tree, and everything should be as you know it. Here you can inspect the DOM, all the elements. You can add verifications against them for them. And for start, I'll add one quick verification to be sure that that my application has loaded. So I'll add this wait step. And as you can see, this navigate and the wait step are added to Test Studio, no matter that I'm using this Angular application. So I'll do few quick verifications for those strings here, and we'll go to these input fields which are interesting in this case because as you may know, with Angular you have some special and specific to Angular bindings to some fields to some events. So in this case we have those input fields and those specific bindings, and Test Studio detects those specific bindings that are Angular specific, and automatically during execution invokes the event, in this case on input event, which needs to be invoked in order to do the job here and to record everything and to execute everything as it was recorded. So let me add something here. Okay, some text, and we'll save this. And now I will verify this text again to be sure that it changed. And here you see that all these steps are being recorded, and I'll remove those and have this here to be sure that everything is how I want it. So that now I have these recorded steps. I'll quit recording, and it remains to execute the test. If you don't know, this is from our previous releases. We also support Microsoft Edge on Windows 10 for execution. So when I execute this test, I also turned on the highlighting, so you see what is going on here, and you can see that invoke event action that is being done. Here set text, and then we have the invoke event step. This is automatically done by Test Studio, and that's why the test passed. In the cases where you have some other kind of events that are non-Angular specific, Of course, you can add this invoke event step by yourself from the actions from Step Builder. This also is available in the recorder, but here in offline mode I have it in actions, JavaScript events, and here you can see all the types of events that you can add. Of course, this is important to know not only for Angular but for any other kind of web applications that have some JavaScript events. And we have some new events added here. For example, on input, we added it in case you need to add it manually. But as I said, in those cases when it's Angular specific and when we detect it, we do it for yourself. So like in this case, you don't need to do anything additional. Test Studio detects that binding and it invokes the on input event automatically during execution. So basically you should be able to automate your Angular applications with Test Studio without any additional effort or with very least additional effort. And I would like to ask you if you're doing that and if you see any problems or anything specific to Angular that we haven't covered. Just send us a ticket or feedback and we'll cover it as soon as possible. Another thing that I want to mention is that the location of our help materials inside the Test Studio UI. Here you can see this drop down in the top right corner of my screen of Test Studio UI when you have quick links to the user guide, the help, to the submit feedback website or submit ticket website, and also we have the same thing inside this backstage view here when you click the Test Studio button in the other corner. So if you wonder where to see the help from, where to submit ticket from, where to enable logging, check for updates, these are the two places where you can do that. It's pretty easy. So yeah, I just want to show you where's the location of that. And this is for me, Tony, so back to you with the slides.
Yep, thank you for the demo, Ilian. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Moving on to what's new in Test Studio Mobile with this release, as you surely remember, our product update back in June introduced provisioning for Android devices, which allowed you to follow the built-in Test Studio wizard to instrument your Android applications instead of waiting for developers to do this for you. We've been working this quarter to complete our mobile testing story with R3 2016 Test Studio Mobile adds support for the latest iOS version, iOS 10. Also, if you are invested in NativeScript development, now you can easily instrument your applications, NativeScript applications, to make them testable with Test Studio. We've introduced specifically built for the purpose plugin, which can be downloaded from this website. That it's this webpage that's listed here on the slide, telerik.com/NativeScript testing. Basically, you can choose to record or code your test steps and then run them against real devices or simulators around the clock. You can also actually leverage our integration with Bitbar's test rig to run your tests against more than 500 devices in the cloud. Also, this release is introducing the option to test your hybrid Android applications. Basically, you can record and execute actions and verifications against these applications. Now, all the features that were previously available for native application testing are now available for hybrid Android applications as well, like Elements, DOM Explorer, Test List, Results, and so on. And finally, we also enhanced the mobile web recording experience. The DOM Explorer now reviews app element attributes during mobile web recording. It's time for another demo of Test Studio Mobile this time. Ilian, would you like to take control?
Yep. Okay, so we go with Test Studio Mobile here. You should be seeing it on my screen. I've opened a fresh new project for Test Studio Mobile. And first of all, I would like to show you one of the new things, which is something small, but I think would be very useful to our customers that are using mobile testing. You can see in this corner here the status of our message server. This is something, the message server is actually the thing that makes the connection between Test Studio and your devices. And till now, it was working, and still it is working in background, but people were not able to see what's the status of that message server. And sometimes, because it needs one open port, sometimes this port is the default port that we use is taken, and there may be some problems because of that, and it's easy to fix it, just changing the port on which the server works. But most of the people did not know about that, so now we expose it a little bit and make sure that when you're doing your mobile tests, especially with native and hybrid apps, your message server is green. It should be most of the time, unless you don't do anything with the network and the ports. And if something happens, if the connection is broken or something like that, the message server will indicate that. This status will be red here. You get indication. And here from the settings button, you can always change the message server IP and the port. And after you save that, it will get restarted and you should be up and running. Of course, it is important to make sure that you have open ports for that in your network, but in most of the cases, this is it is okay, and you have ports. So now let me go to the new big feature for Test Studio Mobile, the hybrid support for Android. Let me create one new test. Here you can see that along with iOS and Android native and mobile web, we have a new test type, hybrid Android. When you create such test, you'll be able to connect your devices as usual through Wi-Fi or USB, and then record and execute tests and add coded steps as well for your hybrid applications. First of all, you need to connect your device. It is basically the same as we had till now. You can use Wi-Fi or USB. I'll connect my device to a USB. Oh, actually, this is my device. It's a real physical device, but you can use emulators or simulators as well. And you can connect as many devices as you wish to Test Studio. So in order to connect it to Test Studio, you need to have the mobile testing companion app or mobile testing agent installed. And after that, you see that green sign here that I have my device connected. Till now, everything is what we already had. But now I'll need to start testing against my application, and first of all, in order to be testable, this application needs to be instrumented. Of course, anyone who has the source code of the application in Android Studio can instrument it themselves using our documentation with a few steps that needs to be done there. But fortunately, we give you that feature for automatic instrumentation inside Test Studio, which is also available for hybrid applications now as well, for Android hybrid applications. So I'll quickly instrument my app from within Test Studio. You have two options here to provide the application, either from the connected devices, you can select something to be instrumented, or from the local file system. I'll use an APK file from my local file system. Next step, you are asked where to save this application after it gets instrumented. on local file system or directly on the device. I would directly install it on the device. And when the application is instrumented at the end of this walk, you will see the app identifier. The app identifier is something important because it is provided to Test Studio, and when it needs to choose which application to be launched. So if you have several testing applications on your device, you need to specify which application to be launched, and this is what this app identifier does. So you need to take this identifier for the application. Now my application is deployed on my device, and when I hit the record button, here I need to provide this identifier and hit start recording. So this is my demo hybrid application. The interesting and different thing here is that this application, as you know, is contains of native part and web part. And here in the DOM Explorer, you can see both of those parts. So if you want to do some actions and verifications against your native part, you select native view, and if you want to do that against your web view, you go here. So both native and web views are displayed in the DOM, and you can add any verifications and actions against them. Of course, anything that you record directly on the device will be also, anything that you do directly on the device will be also recorded. So let me start recording. First of all, I would like to be sure that my application has loaded, and I would like to verify this my application text here. So this is part of the native view, and you can see that when you select the elements in the DOM Explorer, all those elements are being highlighted directly on the device. And I know that this is the element that I'm interested in. I'll add one wait step to be sure that this element has loaded, and one verification of the text value. Here my application is the text that I need to verify. So I'm done with the native part for now. Here I would like to record a few steps. For example, first name, let's say it's Telerik, and I'll do a few taps to see that. First of all, actually, I will verify this field, verify that this text is actually in it. So I will need to switch to the web view, and this is an input element. Here in the DOM, you can see that now this small improvement that we did, but it's important. Now you see more information in the DOM for your web view. See some more properties, so it's easier to navigate through the elements and to find the element that you need. So this is the element that I need to verify. I can see its properties here as well, and as you can see, the value is Telerik. So in the step builder, I'll add this verification, and we'll verify the value. I will do a few taps. For example, we'll change to far. You can see the tap. And actually, I'm done with recording for now. I'll stop the recording. And you saw that you can do actions and verifications in both your native and your web view. So eventually automating your hybrid application. Now let me execute this. It should be passing. You see Telerik. the forward switched. Okay, so as for web and what we have for web and what we have for native, we have the same for hybrid. I mean, I am speaking about the elements. So when you're recording some tests, all the elements are being recorded in the element repository, and you can later on edit them. If something changes in your app and your test starts failing, you can always edit the fine expression, or you can add new fine expression if you wish, and make your test pass again. So we have also elements for hybrid tests. Next thing, when you have your test, let me make another copy of it, and the second test, I will make it fail. We'll set another value here, Telerik test, and this verification will fail because of that. And now I have two tests, and this is enough for my testing purposes. I would like to add a test list. It's an standard Android test list, and opening this test list, drag and drop the tests, and I have a test list with my two tests, and I can execute this on any connected device, and can execute on all connected devices if I wish to. So when I execute this test list, one of the tests should pass and the other one should fail. And we should see that in the results viewer. So for hybrid tests, we have the well-known functionality, the easy to use and easy to see functionality as for the other types of mobile testing. Here you see the pass versus failed tests, and if you need more information, you can drill down inside the failing test, and you can see the exception. Here the match type equals expected Telerik, actual Telerik test. That's why it failed. So it's as easy as that to record your applications, to create test lists, to add them to add your tests to a test list, execute, and see what's failing and what's happening with your tests against hybrid apps. Of course, you can add coded steps as well using our C# or Visual Basic, the .NET framework, and our mobile testing framework. You can add anything additional to your tests, or you can edit something that's already there in the framework if you need to. Basically, this is from our from mobile. This is the new stuff, the hybrid Android, and we are now working on the iOS hybrid tests for the next releases. Tony, back to you.
Yep. Thank you for the demo. So yeah, let's move on to the third major part of this release. Basically, Test Studio users probably remember that back in June we launched the first beta version of our API testing tool, which allows you to verify the integrity and reliability of your APIs. It's for those of you who haven't had a chance to try it, it's available as part of the Test Studio Ultimate product, as well as a separate standalone download. In a nutshell, it allows you to create verifications against all the common API requests by using mostly point and clicks. You can use conditions to craft flexible verifications. You can also use variables to extract values that can be added later on as a step in a separate test. Users can hook their API test to a build system and leverage the built-in API test runner. This way they can get their test list scheduled to start running whenever they want. Basically execute API tests as part of their continuous integration environment. Beta 2 of our Test Studio for APIs solution delivers on a promise that we gave our customers back in June, and it was part of our roadmap. Now the 2 integrates with Fiddler, our free web debugging proxy. Now you can export your Fiddler recorded traffic into a file and then easily upload it to Test Studio or Test Studio for APIs. You can then choose to either create a Test Studio API test from scratch using these Fiddler traffic logs, or just plug them into an existing API test. We've also added quite a few UI and UX user experience optimizations, some of which Ilian will show you in a minute in the demo. If you haven't had a chance to try Test Studio for APIs yet, if you're a Telerik customer, you can get it from your account, from your Telerik account. If not, you can head to telerik.com/Test Studio for APIs and download the beta 2 from there. So moving on to the last demo bit today, Ilian, if you want to take control.
Thank you. So another thing that I forgot to mention about mobile, the NativeScript integration. You also mentioned, Tony, but just to add a few words, that our plugin, we have plugin for NativeScript now for our mobile offering, so that if you have NativeScript projects, you can easily with one command download and embed this our extension, our plugin inside your app. And when you build it, it will be instrumented, it will be ready to test with Test Studio. All the commands and all the stuff that needs to be done, it's in our documentation and in the web page that Tony showed you. So visit it if you're interested, and you'll see how it happens. For API testing, let's switch to API testing now. Yeah, it's just to remind you that it's still in beta, and we are constantly adding some UI optimizations. As you know, it's a new product. That's why we have a feedback portal where we have some feedback, and if you use it, if you have any problems, if you have any ideas or other feedback, you can use this button. It will directly load our feedback portal where you can submit anything that you have for us in terms of API testing. So please do it. So if you download a new version of API testing, you will see that there are a lot of small and not so small user experience and user interface improvements that will help you to work better and to work easier with it. One of the features that we have in this release is the import of HTTP sessions. For now, this is integrated with Fiddler, our free web debugging software. So with Fiddler, you can record your session, record your web calls into a SAS file, and this file can be imported inside Test Studio for APIs. When you do that, you'll see all the requests and responses that were done during that session, and you can use those to build tests with them. So you don't need to write all the requests by yourself. You can reuse those here. So when you select a request that is interesting for you, you can see the information around it, headers, the response, the body of the response, the raw data, and then you can add this to existing test or to a new test. So let me pick one, and example this one. I'll add it to for example, I'll create a new test, and this HTTP request was added to my test as my first step. So from now on, I can add verifications, conditions, and can continue building my test suite on top of this request. Of course, I can add more requests to this test, so that I have my test without typing all this information and creating all this information by myself. Here in the response body, you can see one of the new optimizations. Before this release, we showed only the raw data here, which wasn't very good. It wasn't very good for observing the data, and now we have JSON and XML viewer, so you can choose. This is how we showed it till now. From now on, you can choose. You can format it in JSON or in XML, so that the data can be viewed easily. So, Tony, do you have anything else to add? I'm done with the demo of API testing.
Thank you for the demo. Just like I said before the demo, and Ilian mentioned, if you haven't tried Test Studio for APIs, head to telerik.com/Test Studio. You can download the Test Studio, the Test Studio core product, which contains API testing as well, or just download the API bits to try them out. Before we open up for questions, I wanted to quickly share what's coming up next on Test Studio resource front. One of the things we are quite excited about to share is that our product team have been working to integrate Test Studio with Applitools Eyes to help you guys add even richer visual testing capabilities to your testing practices. We are organizing a webinar which will be held by a Test Studio and Applitools customer who's been using both solutions in their testing processes. So he'll be demonstrating some real-life case scenarios to you. The date is yet to be confirmed, so once we have it all set up, you'll be getting an invite in your mailboxes. Something that you might be aware of, but for those of you who are not, our solution engineers run Test Studio demos twice a week. These sessions focus on different testing types of the Test Studio offers, like functional testing, mobile, API, load and performance testing. So if you'd like to get someone else on your team up to speed with Test Studio, that's the perfect chance to actually sign them up for such a demo. And lastly, we're going to be sponsoring and exhibiting at the Premium Testing Conference in Europe, Eurostar, which this year is taking place the beginning of November in Stockholm, Sweden. So if you for some reason are planning to attend, be sure to stop by in the Expo Center by our booth and chat with Ilian and the rest of the product guys. So that's all I had for today. We've been answering questions in the background, and we'll definitely follow up with a blog post. Ilian, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, a few questions from the chat.
Yep.
There was a question if Test Studio for APIs will also be a standalone tool. Yes, it is now. If you have a Test Studio license, you have Test Studio for APIs inside Test Studio, inside the whole package. But if you don't have Test Studio Ultimate license, you can also download the free standalone Test Studio for APIs version from our website. Another interesting question, when we're going to implement HTML-based results. We're actually working on that, so in the next release, stay tuned. We will have our roadmap page updated, and we will provide some information for our Test Studio Web and Desktop offering. We're working on HTML-based results that can be exported out of Test Studio and shared with anyone. Okay, so let's leave the webinar open for a few more minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, so that we can answer all the questions in the chat, and then we'll wrap it up.